Should you rent that bag or should you buy that bag? Hey guys, it's Jess from She's the Posh. Welcome back. And today we are going to be talking all about renting designer handbags. What are the positives? What are the negatives? Is it worth it? I make videos anytime I want, so please remember to hit subscribe below and ring my bell so we can become best friends here on the internet. Okay guys, we are having another chit chat video where I'm going to talk all about renting handbags, how I feel about it, is it worth it, is it not, and all about renting out my own handbags to give you some tips and how I've been doing that. Okay, first of all, we're just going to talk about the rental handbag craze. How do I feel about that? So there's several platforms now that have opened up where you can actually rent handbags. One of my favorite platforms that I have used, and I have rented some handbags, they're not high designer handbags, but they are more like Tory Burch and Kate Spade and different things like that, is Rent the Runway. I use them currently. I love them for when I do weddings and certain small events. I just end up renting a really nice dress to wear. They have like Zimmerman, they have self-portraits, they have all really nice designer gowns and stuff that you can use. I love to do that because you can rent out. I have unlimited, but you can just select one dress to rent out for 3 or 4 days. They give you 2 sizes to choose from. It comes pressed, everything. I think that's amazing. They also have bags too. So they will have things like, they have Cult Gaia bags that you can rent, like cute little clutches and things like that. And they have Kate Spade and stuff. So I think that's a great platform for renting bags. Now let's go into luxury handbags. So now one of the biggest ones that are in the market is the Bag Borrow Steal platform. So I have looked into possibly renting bags from them. So they do things where you can, I believe, rent a bag a month. However, I've never done it with them because maybe I can rent a Chanel bag for a video and just see how it goes. Now, those Chanel bags were pretty pricey for a rental for a month. They were right around close to $500, $600. You're paying about 10% of the purchase price to rent this for a month. And for me, that just seemed like I wasn't a lot of value there. And why would I really need to, you know, if you're renting a fancy dress, maybe you only need to rent it for a couple days. Like I'd rather just be able to rent it for maybe $100 or $200. Also, what I didn't like with the platform is I asked about insurance. I'm like, what happens if something happens to this? Because at the time I was looking to rent a Chanel bag. I was not in a position to pay $4,000 or $5,000 for a Chanel bag. And this was before YouTube and all that stuff, but I thought it would be nice to have it for a wedding that I was going to and maybe just using it for a month. And looking into it, they told me that if something would happen to the handbag, that I was responsible for the retail price for the bag. It's a used bag, so if something happens to it, you're gonna charge me the full retail price of this bag. And they said yes, and if there was something wrong with it. And that made me nervous, the fact where like these are used bags. What if something breaks on it? What if something happens and then they charge me for the full bag? There isn't any insurance, whereas with Rent the Runway, they have insurance that you pay for. And I think I paid $150 for the year, and that included like I had a dress that lost a button, all that stuff. I don't get charged any extra. I just tell them, hey, I lost a button on this dress, or this came off, or, you know, there was a little tear at the seam. I don't know if that's me or if that's how it came, whatever. Like, I don't have to worry about that at all. Any of the bags and stuff like that, if something happens to them, I'm covered under insurance. Yes, these bags aren't super expensive bags. However, I have that insurance. Whereas with these super expensive bags with Bag Borrow Steal, there's no coverage. So I really did not feel comfortable doing that. Now, I do rent my personal bags out to make some extra money on the side. I am someone that is always interested in any ways I can make coin. If there's a way to hustle, your girl is gonna do it. So when I first started getting into luxury and things, I didn't want to have to spend my own hard-earned money that I was making through work to pay for it. I wanted to see if I could sustain this habit a different way. And what I used to do is I used to resell. So I was doing that probably about 5 or 6 years ago, that I would get good deals on items, especially like Kate Spade or Coach. I was really good at buying them in the outlets, finding them on sale, getting a good price for them. Then I would purchase them, list them, and then I would make about 15 to 20% profit on that item. And then I would make a couple hundred, $500, $600 extra dollars a month. And then I would save that money up And some of them I would buy more stuff to flip and make more money, and some of that money I would use to purchase some of my luxury items. So that was a fun way for me. Did YouTube, but you don't really make a lot of money on YouTube. I also do like affiliated marketing. So when I find good sales and deals, I like to do this. Black Friday, sales season, I will post some stuff to my Instagram stories. If someone clicks it and purchases through my link, I get a small commission, like 3%, 6%, and that could be another couple $100. But renting your handbags, it was just such an interesting concept to me. I had a company called Fashionably that reached out to me from me being on YouTube and asked me if I would be interested. I kind of ignored them. But then finally I said, I'll try it. So I rented a few pieces out and I started to make some really good money. However, there is some flaws to this with using the Fashionably platform. So I will not get to details, but I ended up having a Chanel bag that was lost or stolen, and I am getting money back for it. However, the person didn't have the money to pay for it up front, so they're doing payments for it. So that was a bad experience. I'm getting $250 payments, so I'll have that video link for you to go in more detail. So that is a negative. So I left that platform and I went to a new platform. I love this new platform. There are other risks involved as well. So I've made pretty good money on this platform so far. However, I've lost some money too. So I kind of wanted to share with this, and this is like a fluke thing. This isn't something that normally happens, but your girl's lucky, I guess. And it's first world problems, but I did have 2 pieces that got lost in the mail. I no longer send my pieces in the US mail system. That's how Toolery used to do it. That's the new platform that I'm using is Toolery. And now all my items are done FedEx. However, I had 2 pieces that got lost back in February and I never received them, never got them. And there is no insurance that you can get for these pieces, because to get insurance to cover the cost of my bum bag and my Balenciaga sweater that got lost in the mail, it would cost like $150 for that insurance, which is pretty expensive. Then I wouldn't make any money on the rental. So that is a risk that can happen as well. It luckily only happened to me once, but with this closed platform, people can set their prices to rent their items out. And I really love this closed platform, to be completely honest with you. It's pretty awesome. Other than that bummer that happened with me losing my bum bag, the bummer with the bum bag, I am sad about that, but I have made enough money to cover that loss. So I'm not in the negative. I've had, at least since I started it in February till present, I don't know the total amount of money I've made, but I think I've made close to about $5,000 so far, $4,000 or $5,000 profit. Yes, I have to pay tax on that, so I'm not taking the tax out of that, but I have personally made really good money. And I really love the platform because it's a closed platform. You have to be interviewed and you have to be approved to be on the platform. Not anybody can get on there. So the women and men that are renting pieces from me, they are renting it. They can afford to replace it if something goes wrong. Like if they lose it, something happens, they have the money to replace it. It is not, whereas Fashionably was open to everybody, this is a closed platform. What's really cool is there are people on here that are influencers. There are a lot of people like in the beauty industry, and I have someone that she was a beauty queen and she had a lot of events and stuff to go to. So she has some beautiful items to list. So she would rent those out, and then she uses the money and the credit to rent pieces out for her different events she has to go to. And I think this is such a smart way to do it, other than bag, borrow, steal, because the prices are more reasonable. You can actually rent items out for only 4 days, right? Like you just need something for an event. You don't want it for the month, where bag, borrow, steal will cost a lot of money to rent it for the month. Now, if you wanted to rent an Hermes bag, that's still gonna cost you a couple $100 to rent for 4 days. However, if you're wanting a nice clutch, if you're wanting to get like a nice Saint Laurent piece and stuff like that, you can rent for 4 days a nice Saint Laurent bag for like $80 to $90, and that's including shipping, because when they do the prices for us to list it, I list it for my price to see what I'm gonna get back. Toolery takes 30% of that listed price, but then they add $15 for shipping onto it to cover shipping costs. Now, if something needs to be rushed, then they'll add extra cost to it, but you can rent things for 4 days. You can rent things for 10 days or 20 days. So I have people that rent items when they go on vacation, different things like that. I have regulars, and I have not had a problem with a renter doing something. I had one incident where a renter actually sent it to USPS when it was supposed to be FedEx. they made a mistake, but I did eventually get the piece, but it took about a month to get to me. Never had a problem with someone treating my items improperly, whereas with Stylen, that would happen all the time. So what are my thoughts on that? I think that renting is probably a great idea, especially if you're someone that isn't going to be using pieces that often, right? Like if you need something for an event, or if you're an influencer or someone that has to go to many events and you want to keep your wardrobe fresh, like Tuileries is a great platform for that, because you know it's closed, you know the people on here are legit, and that you can rent out clothing, you can rent out jewelry, you can rent out things for just 4 days and enjoy it. It's gonna come cleaned, pressed, and all that stuff, but you're getting it from a regular person, which is kind of cool that you're getting to see how they style it, because when I list my items, I have me like pictured wearing it, and then it's really cool because I've had some people that borrowed like my white vintage Chanel that I have, and they used it for their wedding. She was getting married. She's like, well, I'm just getting married, the justice of the peace, you know, that kind of thing. And she had never rented from me before, and she was renting a Chanel, and I always say it has to be from somebody that has rented before. And so she just wrote to me, she's like, you know, I have rented from Tuileries before. I'm using this for the wedding, need references or something like that. Very nice. But then seeing the pictures of her like wearing it at her wedding and thanking me so much for that. I had a pair of Jimmy Choo shoes that I have that is all crystals, and someone wore that at her rehearsal dinner. She's like, I'm wearing it for the rehearsal dinner, but I'm just gonna be on carpet. I'm not gonna be like out on the street or anything. Like, it was just, it's so cool to see that something that I have in my wardrobe that I don't wear all the time is bringing someone joy and also bringing money in for me. So how I feel about the whole renting handbags, that whole concept, I think there's a lot of positives to it, and there's a lot of other platforms that you can use. Would I use Bag Borrow Steal? No. Would I do renting my own stuff if I couldn't afford to lose it? I wouldn't. It's not like gambling or anything like that, but I just feel like if you have a prized possession, you want to have it in your wardrobe forever, maybe not have that piece rented out, but some stuff that's more trendy that you have and you don't use all the time, like your shoes, maybe you don't use heels like I do. I don't use my heels all the time. So that's how I feel about the whole renting. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think it's worth it? Are you excited about all these new platforms that are coming out? There are also other apps that I've looked into. They just didn't work out for me. I saw one that's called Wardrobe that you can rent out your pieces. However, with this company, you had to send your pieces to them. They would store it and then they would rent it out for you, and then you would get money. And if you wanted the pieces, you just ask them and they send it back to you. But I'm like, I don't want my stuff somewhere else. Like, I want to be able to use it, and when someone wants it, then I'll send it out too, which is what Tuileries does. So I'll have your information down below, but just know things are gonna go wrong. Something might happen with, you know, the mail and stuff like that, but I send all my stuff FedEx. If that's something you would prefer to do, you could say, hey, I wanna send all my stuff FedEx. They are actually working on the platform to make it where you get to choose how you ship your pieces. And it's probably because of what happened to me, because I'm the only one that's ever happened to, so most likely it won't happen to you. But if you're looking at items for an event and you do influencing, or you have to go to different events because of your work or because of conferences and things like that, that might be beneficial for you just to rent things as you need it. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this. And as always, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye, guys.